Have you ever seen anything in your life more wonderful than the way the sun, every evening, relaxed and easy, floats toward the horizon, and into the clouds or the hills, or the rumpled sea, and is gone, and how it slides again out of the blackness, every morning on the other side of the world like a red flower, streaming upward on its heavenly oils, say on a morning in early summer, at its perfect imperial distance. And have you ever felt for anything such wild love? Do you think there is anywhere in any language a word billowing enough for the pleasure that fills you as the sun reaches out, as it warms you, as you stand there, empty-handed? Or have you too turned from this world? Or have you too gone crazy for power, for things? Today's video is going to be about joy. But as an aside, I will give you 10 ways to get into your feminine state, or as known as your flow state. Now, these are ways that I've tried and tested over the last 2.5, 3 years or so, and found to be the most effective. And the reason I'm making this video is because feminine energy and feminine state are very popular jargon right now. They're very popular terms. And I want to teach you exactly how to achieve that and what that feels like. So, the first thing, and the most important maybe, is to slow down. Now, how do we slow down? And everyone is giving this generic advice. But what does it mean? To slow down, for me, has meant using my breath to calibrate what I'm doing for work or what I'm doing in the present moment. So if you're not in a flow state, if you're not in a feminine state, you are most likely stressed. It's probably true that you don't know how to have fun, and so you don't know how to slow down. So use your breath to calibrate what you're doing. As in, don't go faster than your breath allows you to go. And you'll know what this means if you take slow, deep breaths while you're working. So if I'm stressed, if I'm thinking, if I'm working and I'm going too fast, it is a stressor. I'm thinking, okay, what are the deadlines I need to meet? I need to complete this task that I'm doing as fast as possible and get to the next one. I need to do X, Y, Z. I have all these other things that I need to do. Clean the house, cook, whatever it is. It is stressing you out, right? So we want to slow down with our breath and notice the sensations that are coming up. And let the thoughts pass you by. And obviously, if you're stressed, you might have high cortisol levels. And a way to bring these down is to inhale whatever count you're inhaling. So if you're inhaling for 5 seconds, exhale for 8. And this is known to bring about a sense of relaxation in your body so that you're slowed down enough to notice your sensations, notice your thoughts. Now the next thing is gratitude. The state of being in a feminine energy, being in the state of femininity is openness. It's a receptivity. And how do we get open? How do we stay open? How do we shift from a rigid, sort of stressed way of being, a masculine if it's, there's obviously healthy masculine, and then there's unhealthy masculine. If you're an unhealthy masculine state, how do we come out of that into a more open, a more relaxed, a more receptive state? And that is gratitude. It is not easy to get into this state of gratefulness, because although we have a lot, we may have a lot, it's hard to see these things sometimes. So a practice I like to do, and this is if I'm stuck in a very negative state and I'm in a downward spiral, is to focus on the basics. And that's, do I have food to eat? Do I have clean water to drink? Do I have a roof over my head? These 3 basic things. You just start naming them. And then as you name the basics, the other blessings that are around you will start to populate in your head. And you'll say, oh yes, I'm also grateful that I had some leisure time today. I'm grateful that I have this plant. I'm grateful that I have loving parents. It can be anything in your life, but the point is that we are all blessed in some way. We all have things that we can be grateful for. And if you have the basics, a lot of people in the world don't, you are already blessed. So when we start to see things in a more positive light, we start to receive these things. We start to feel them. That yes, I am blessed. I am grateful for this. And so that puts you in the present moment, which is right where we want to be. Now the next thing is we want to indulge our senses. So we want to indulge in sensual experiences. And what does this mean? Well, it can be anything, but the point is, whatever you're doing, really awaken your senses. So, for example, if it's summertime and I'm eating a peach, I love peaches. I'm eating a peach, I will really indulge myself. I will slow down. I will bite into that peach and I will feel how juicy it is and how tasty it is and how good and how grateful I am that I'm having this moment with my peach and just really enjoying the experience. And that's what makes it sensual, because you know what you're tasting, you know what you're feeling. You can make anything sensual, like, for example, a shower. When you're showering, just slow down, notice your breath, and then notice how the water feels as it rolls down your body, how the soap feels on your skin. And this way you're awakening your senses and you're putting yourself in the present moment. So this brings me to my next point. Do you feel safe enough to receive? Because feminine energy is all about receptivity. It's about being open, as I've mentioned. So, this is a question for your nervous system. This is not a question for you. Does your nervous system feel safe enough to receive? And if it doesn't, we want to recalibrate our nervous systems. And we want to enter the parasympathetic state, which is the opposite of being in survival mode, or the sympathetic state. And, there are plenty of resources out there that will help you through this, but it is deep when we talk about the nervous system, because then we have to ask ourselves, what got me into a survival state in the first place? Why am I in not a flow state? Why am I not relaxed? Why am I not open to receive? Why am I in an unhealthy masculine state? And so we sit with this and we ask ourselves and we get to the bottom of what put us into survival mode in the first place. And there are plenty of outlets that will help you do this. Journaling, meditating, really making space to get to know yourself. And if you have any childhood trauma that you need to unpack, any beliefs that were passed down to you that sort of put you on edge, any environments that made you feel that way, these are all factors that can contribute to being in survival mode. And at the end of the day, we want to give ourselves compassion and kindness and come out of this survival mode and into a more relaxed and open state. So the next tool that you can use to get into a feminine state is use affirmations. Affirmations work. And the way they work is because of neuroplasticity. Our brains can be rewired. They absolutely can be rewired. This is the good news. Once you identify your beliefs and what makes you feel like you need to be in survival mode, you can use affirmations to re-engineer your subconscious mind. Now, the trick with affirmations is that you need to first feel the core wound and release the stuck emotions. And then you can rewrite the story and then supercharge your new belief, your new goal with your mindset with affirmations. So first comes the nitty-gritty work that we need to do that we cannot bypass with affirmations. But once you do, once you release, if you have shame, if you have fear, as we all do at some level, once you've released that, then affirmations are an amazing tool to help you shift into your new reality. Next, find out what it is that you actually love and like to do on a daily basis. What hobbies do you enjoy? And I mean, what hobbies can you get lost in? Where do you lose your sense of time and space and where you are? And this can be anything, obviously: painting, writing, creating music, cooking. The key to entering the feminine flow state is to really enjoy yourself. So find a hobby you love and try to make maybe one night out of the week where you can spend some time doing it. And you're going to find more and more enjoyment this way, which is really what this video is about. Like I said, it's about joy. And when you do more and more of these things that you love to do, you're signaling to the universe that, look, I can make space for these things that make me happy. More of this, please. Thank you. Now the next thing, and this goes hand in hand with my last point of finding what you love to do, is making time for it. It's reprioritizing. And I know that this can be very difficult, especially if you have a family, you work full time, you have kids, you have obligations that you need to tend to. But if you're serious about enjoying your life and flowing rather than forcing, there are some changes that are probably in order. So, for example, if you do have a really busy schedule, when you wake up, what do you do right away? Do you scroll on your phone? Because that's what most people do. So these are just small things that you can make the time for. These are realistic things. I'm not offering you you need to quit your job, you need to, shut everyone out, you need to not meet your obligations. I am absolutely 100% not saying that, but I'm saying that there are definitely, most probably, habits that are energy leaks for you. So your goal is to enter a feminine state. Your goal is to flow and not force. So what does this mean? This means you make time for the things you enjoy, which means you cut out the things that are distractions. You cut out the phone time in the morning, and that gives you 5 to 10 minutes to go outside and sit in the sun and drink water. And that is super, super nourishing. That will help you slow down. I can't even start talking about the effects on your health and your brain and your mental health that will start doing to you. And this goes along with my spiel about nervous system recalibration earlier. When you immediately wake up and you start scrolling on your phone, you're already putting yourself in an alarmed state. And you don't want to start off the day like that. So, this brings me to my next point, and that is self-care. Self-care is not a luxury. In this day and age that we're living in, it's an essential. And why it's an essential, why it's a necessity, is because there are 1,000 million things that are distracting us, that are grabbing us for our attention. And this pointer ties everything together. And that is, take care of your mind, body, and soul. And you'll start seeing the effects of your self-care, of how much love you put into yourself. You'll start seeing that in your energy. You'll start embodying that. Because it makes a difference. And, I feel like I've had a long time coming with this, but I prioritize self-care a lot now, because if I don't, obviously things just sort of life passes me by, and I get very antsy and I'm off center. So what you want to do to be in a feminine state at the most essential level is to take care of yourself and to put yourself first, to fill your cup and let it overflow to others. And of course we want to take care of others. We want to be there for others. We can't do that if we're not feeling our best, if our cup isn't full. I hope this makes sense, and I do acknowledge, as I've said earlier, that a lot of people have busy schedules, but taking out maybe an evening, a Friday evening for yourself can do wonders for you and your mental health. So this is the 9th point that I'm at, is learning how to rest. In this society, in the world that we live in, rushing and constantly producing something is what we're all at some level programmed to believe, programmed to become. But we're not well-oiled machines. We are human beings. However, as we are all programmed to believe that rest is wrong, being is wrong, you need to produce output. That is the correct way to be in this society. If you have these beliefs, we need to start unpacking them, and we need to start filling ourselves up with another belief, and that is resting is okay. Resting is safe. I'm allowed to rest. Say it with me. I'm allowed to rest. And that is not wrong. So, you need to ask yourself, how do you feel if you don't do anything for an hour? How about an evening, a day, a whole weekend, a week, a month. And that is getting into radical thinking. Yes, I'm quite aware. But we need to start really examining how we're thinking and how this thinking that we constantly have to do something affects us, and how it puts us into states of toxic masculinity and not the flow state, the opposite flow state, rigidity, stress. The last and the final thing we're going to talk about is balance. Now, I know everything I've talked about so far sort of relates to this as well, and everything that I've talked about sort of overlaps and is connected, but balance ties it together, because the spiritual realm asks us of balance. Balance of the mind, body, spirit, balance of work, life, if you separate the two. We need to have some sort of balance. So, you want to curate your time in a way that you make sure you stop and you can smell the roses from time to time, right? We don't always want to be striving for a goal. We don't always want to be on the go and not have the time to even enjoy the fruits of our labor, not enjoy what comes of the seeds that we plant. I'm not saying, again, file your taxes, handle your obligations, do what you have to do. And the point of this is not to escape reality, but to move forward in a way that's whole, rather than being in a state of go, 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 being constantly bombarded by the stressors of everyday life. So, that's all I have for today. If you found any of this helpful, I would greatly appreciate if you can leave a comment and share some love below. But until next time, I hope you can find some time for yourself this week.